Law number 6. The 6th law is the law of solid ground. And the law of solid ground says, trust is a foundation of leadership. This is an incredible law. In fact, I put in your notes, trust is the glue that holds an organization and the leader together. So we got to talk about it for a moment. That's the solid ground. It's the foundation that holds the leader and the people, or the leader and the organization together. Let me ask you a question. How much do your people trust you? Maybe even let me ask you a more important question than that. How much do you trust your people? One of my favorite quotes is, it's wonderful when the people believe in the leader. It's even more wonderful when the leader believes in the people. It's the foundation. It's what you stand upon. It's what you build your leadership on. Now, one of the best ways to illustrate trust for you and this kind of a foundation that you need to have, one of the best ways to illustrate it is to use what I call, well, the best way I can describe it is I just call it the change in the pocket illustration. But let me share with you what I mean. Let's say that I come to this church, and this is my new church, and I'm the new pastor, and this is my church board, okay? And when I come to this congregation, and this works as a business person or whatever, they give me X amount of change in my pocket. Now, I'm not talking about salary, I'm not talking about money right now, but I'm going to use money as an illustration. In other words, they give me X amount of change in my pocket. This says, John, spend this well, do well, we wish you success. This is the honeymoon period. So they give me this change. Now, either because I make good decisions or I make bad decisions, I either gain or lose the change in my pocket. For example, if I come and let's say first of all, I'm going to use negative illustrations. Let's say first of all that I make bad decisions. And let me just stop here for a moment and let's make sure that we understand what trust really means. Let's make sure that let me just make sure we got this wired. To have the solid ground of trust that you build your leadership on, there are two things you have to be able to provide for your people. One is you have to have character, and number two, you have to have competence. And remember this, one cannot substitute for the other, okay? In other words, you could be a great person of character, but if you don't have competence, the good news is people trust you. The bad news is people aren't going to get on the train with you. You know, oh, well, that's a wonderful person. He's the most wonderful person. Doesn't have a clue where he's going, but he's a wonderful person. Well, that's the kind of person you'll have lemonade with on the porch, but it's not a person you'll take a trip with. Now, obviously, if you have competence without character, now I know where I'm going, but I don't know if I really want to take the trip with you. So you got to have character and you got to have competence to develop trust. Now, but this is the change in the pocket. They've given it to me. They're wanting me to be successful and I'm wanting to be successful. But let's say now as a pastor, I make some wrong decisions. Let's say the first month I'm there, I fire the youth pastor. Well, and what I do is I find out that the chairman of my board, Roy here, is the father of the youth pastor. You're getting the picture, aren't you, huh? So I go to the church board and I made this bad decision. You know what the church board says, you know, that wasn't a very good decision you made. And so what I do is, Marty, get your head down. I'm dealing with Roy right now. You seem very greedy there at that point. What I'm doing is, as you can tell, is I'm giving up change. Does that make sense? But it's okay. It's no problem because I still have change, don't I? I've still got change. I got change left. It's no problem. So let's say the next month, I make another dumb decision. I don't know. I forget to come to church on Sunday. And I go to the board, and the board says, John, you're the pastor of the church, and you didn't come Sunday. And I go, oh, that was it. That was it. I kept telling my wife all day, there's something I should be doing. Oh, rats. Now, you know what I'm doing, don't you? I've got to give up some more change. You follow me? But it's okay. It's okay. I still got some change left. Are you with me? Roy, keep the change real close, would you please? God, he's putting it right next to his heart. You've been a former treasurer in another lifetime, haven't you, huh? No, watch this. So now here I come. I come back, and the next month I make another dumb decision. I don't know what I do. Let's say I canceled Sunday night service and forgot to tell the board. And 4 months later, they found out about it. And when they found out about it, they were ticked. So I give some more change up. Now you're starting to get the picture. When I show that I'm not competent as a leader, when I make bad decisions as a leader, every time I do that, I give change up. Now what happens is, about the next time, remember we're talking about developing trust, developing a relationship, a solid ground in your leadership. So about the next time I come and make a dumb decision, you know what I'm doing. As I'm standing in front of my board this time, I'm reaching in. Now I've begun reaching in for change, and I reach in this time for change, and I'm in trouble. I've just gone bankrupt with my organization. Now, here's what you have to know about going bankrupt with your organization. You never know you're out of change until you're out of change. In other words, when you find out, it's too late. That's why I run into people all the time. They'll say, John, man, I don't know what happened. I don't have any clue what happened. I mean, all of a sudden there was this little problem with the board, and boom, I was gone. And I thought, man, in fact, John, let me tell you something. 2 years ago, we had a huge problem, and I didn't have to leave then. And now this was just a teeny weeny problem, and I had to leave. Can I tell you something? It's not the biggest problem that causes you the problem. It's the last one. Now, just as it's possible for me to lose all my change in this trust relationship, if I show character and if I show competence, isn't it true? It's possible for me to gain change. Huh? In this case, it may not be possible. Roy, you are an eager guy there. Okay, so I make a good decision, and they say, good job, and so they give me some change, don't they? Now I know what he's already. Now I want to tell you what he's already doing to me. I can tell you exactly what he's already doing to me. I can see it. It's human nature. It's fallen man. It's the depravity. Now I want to tell you what happens here. As he's given me change back, he's given me back less than what I gave him. He's given it back to me slower than I gave it to him, which is a classic illustration. Listen to very, very carefully. You lose change quicker than you gain change. And when you have lost change, it takes a long time to get it back. Does this make sense? You see, when we violate a trust relationship, whether it's a marriage, man, Margaret and I have been married for almost 30 years. And I'm telling you, 30 years, we got a lot of trust in the bank. But boy, some mess up, and it takes a long time to pull that back. You lose it a lot quicker than you gain it. So what we want to do is be careful not to lose it. We want to get on the building side. But if I start making decisions, I keep making decisions, every once in a while I'll get some more change back. Take your time, Roy, take your time. And thank you very much. And every time I get change back, by the way, when I start receiving change, guess what? I love the board meetings. I had a pastor one time who said, I hate board meetings, and I knew why. Because he was giving up change. You see, if you're receiving change, you'll love board meetings. If you're giving up change, you won't like them. So I come back, and the next month, they say, that's a good series of sermons you're preaching. It's really helping us. Well, thank you very much. And I keep collecting, until after a while, if I'm doing it right, and I'm really building on this solid foundation of trust, after a while, I'm loaded with change. In fact, I have to walk around the organization with a limp. Boy, what's wrong, Pastor? I'm loaded with change. have to hire an assistant just to help carry you around with all the change you got in your pocket. Now, my friend Rick Ward at Saddleback, who's built an incredible church in America, shared with me several years ago, when I was living out in California, we were having a lunch together. And it happened to be the Monday after the Sunday, and we were two pastors sitting there kind of licking our wounds and hoping Jesus would come. Not near as much as our people were, but that's another story. And so we're talking, Rick and I are talking, and I said, how'd it go yesterday? Oh, he said, it was a tough day. I said, tell me about it. Well, I said, we're looking for land. And let me just take a time out here for a moment. For, 15 or 16 years, they tried to get some land for their church. They had to meet in school buildings. They moved, in their 15 years of trying to find land and build a church, they moved to 57 different locations. I mean, they moved so much that there was a period of time where they were having to move almost every week, that they would tell their people on Sunday, look at the paper on Wednesday, and we'll have in the paper where we will meet next Sunday. Okay, you talk about a church on the move. and so, but they finally they thought they found some land, and so they put some money down. And so Rick got up on Sunday morning, he said, I have bad news and I have bad news. He said, let me give you the bad news first. The bad news is the property we thought we were going to get, we're not going to get. The bad news is the $100,000 that we put on the property, we lost it too. I said, Rick, what'd they do? He said, they kind of slumped over for about 15 seconds. And then he said, in about 15 seconds, they started raising their hands saying, Pastor Rick, where do we look for land this week? It took them 15 seconds to get over a $100,000 loss. Why? I'm going to tell you why. Rick Warren, he's loaded. The guy's got a whole bunch of change in his pocket. He had done so many things so well for so long that he had a whole reservoir of trust. Let me tell you something. For some of us, if we lost $100, we'd be out of there. He lost $100,000 and he stays. You see, that's where I learned that your problem is not your problem. You just think it is. The problem isn't the problem. The problem is that you haven't developed some trust. You haven't developed some goodwill. You haven't developed that. You don't have change in your pocket. Now, here's the most important part of this lesson before I go on in the law, because this is a key part of the lesson. It's called, the law of solid ground, the law of trust. Here, this is very important. It takes change in your pocket to make changes in your organization. So when people come to me, they say, do you think we can make that transition? Do you think we can make that change? That seems like a bold move. John, do you think we can do that? The question is not how big the change is for your organization. The question is, how much change do you have in your pocket? If you've got a lot of change in your pocket, you can make a big change in your church. If you don't have a lot of change in your pocket, you can't make any changes. The size of the change in your organization is based on the change in your pocket. And the change in your pocket is measured by the amount of trust that you have with your people. Do they trust you? Wow. This is so key. This is so important. And that's why I have in your notes, to build trust, you must demonstrate consistent competence and consistent character. And it's a fact. It's a true statement. A leader cannot continue to break trust with people and continue to influence them. That's why the proverb writer said, good leaders abhor wrongdoings of all kind. Sound leadership has a moral foundation. 3 questions to ask yourself. These are great questions. Question number 1, do I have change in my pocket? Question number 2, is my change increasing or decreasing? Oh, that's a good question. And number 3, do I pass the integrity test? And the integrity test says this: with integrity, the longer I lead, the better it gets. Without integrity, the longer I lead, the worse it becomes. So look at your life, look at your leadership. Is it becoming better or is it becoming worse?